If this is your first video watching of ours, my name is Cody. This is my wife, Sarah. We're in New York City and we're taking our Sunday morning stroll.
Yeah.
And there is so few people outside.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this in that a pro tip for any of you guys who are thinking about coming to New York City or even coming to like a big city in general.
Yeah.
Schedule it for the July 4th weekend holiday area because so many people who live in the big cities leave the city for the holiday, and so it makes it where it's not quite as busy in the actual city. So I mean, right now this whole week has been pretty dead in New York City, but also Sarah and I went to Chicago 5 years ago during this holiday, and it was like amazing.
Yeah.
Not only because the weather in Chicago was not hot, but also because there wasn't very many people there. So yeah,
it's a good tip.
Take your vacations to big cities during July 4th because all the big city people get out.
Yeah.
We're walking home from church and we just stopped at Astor Place to get Starbucks since got a little bit of a late start this morning. Normally stop on the way, but didn't have time.
So I slept in again.
She said it, not me. But I agree. But one thing I wanted to talk about is something that I've heard a few times over the last few days, and I keep thinking about it, and I keep like thinking about why, is I've heard multiple people, even at church this morning, somebody on stage, like apologized for crying or apologized just because they started to cry.
Or being emotional or something.
Right. And I was just thinking about like, why do we apologize for crying? Like, why are we telling people like, you know, even one of them was, somebody was talking about a family member who was passing away and they started crying. They're like, I'm sorry, I'm starting to cry or whatever. And it's like, why are we so quick to like, I guess, apologize for our emotions? But we would never be like, like if we were telling a story and we started laughing and we were like, I'm sorry, I'm laughing, like, unless it was an appropriate time to laugh. But like right there, it's like we just laughed. It's like, I'm sorry we laughed. Like, and then continue the story. It's like, why do you think we do that?
Well, first of all, I'm a huge supporter of crying. I don't know, like, I believe in showing emotions, and so maybe I'm not the best person to ask about this, but I think there's a few things maybe. I think the main one is that our culture doesn't support it. It doesn't support vulnerability and emotional, anything that is maybe like upsetting or sad. Like, we don't really like our culture, our society doesn't really like make a space for that, I guess.
It's seen as weakness. Yeah,
and so I think maybe that is a huge thing. But I also think maybe sometimes people do feel like there is no space, no appropriate place to share it. Like, everything we do online is supposed to look good and happy and fun and carefree and whatever. Like, entertainment, like there is no space. Maybe it isn't appropriate, I guess is what I'm saying. Maybe they actually feel like there is no appropriate time for it because again, our society doesn't really like make it appropriate.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, like, I just feel like if you're in a conversation and you're talking about something emotional and you start to cry, quit apologizing for it.
I totally agree.
Like, I cry
all the time.
Like, I don't think we need to apologize for showing emotion that isn't happy.
Yeah, and I think also there's at least for me, there's like a piece of like sharing the vulnerable or whatever that is like terrifying because we're afraid, because we are at our most vulnerable and we're afraid people will reject it, which means they're rejecting us, you know? So there's like, you can put on a facade and a face of like happy-go-lucky, you know, everything's exciting, because it's not harmful if somebody like, you know, makes fun of that.
Right.
But like if somebody says something when you're at your very most vulnerable, like that doesn't go away. That like hits, because you have no shield up. That like, hits you.
Yeah. That's good, Pastor Sarah.
You're welcome.
But saying that, you will probably never see me cry. Not because I wouldn't show you, but because I
physically cannot.
I almost have the inability to not. I have cried only a handful of times in my life, and
I think the last time was like, oh man, years ago. I don't even remember.
I vaguely remember the last time was whenever my best friend moved away.
Oh yeah, that is when, yeah. That actually shocked me. It's like, wow, he likes Nick. I cried like yesterday. Actually, probably this morning.
Wasn't trying to bring the mood down or anything. For some reason, I've heard that phrase of I'm gonna cry, I'm sorry, or I'm crying, I'm sorry, something like that. Like probably 4 times in the last week.
Yeah.
And like I thought about it every time. So just wanted to have that conversation. But now we're going to probably just go home. We're gonna eat at some point. I don't know.
Let's just have some fun.
Yeah. Gelato place just opened pretty close to us called Arte del Gelato.
No, there's no J in the front. It's l'art.
French word gelato. Italian word probably.
Italian. They began in a small town in Sicily.
Ah, yes. So we decided to come over here, get some, get a afternoon treat for the heat. But while we're out, I wanted to continue the new segment of Jensen's Recommend, which I realized when I was editing the last video, if you saw that one, that I put the S in the wrong place and I kept saying Jensen Recommends. But there's 2 Jensens and we have a recommendation. So it's Jensen's Recommend.
Yes.
And the thing that I wanted to recommend this time was continuing on the conversation of crying. I thought I would share my favorite movies that make me cry. And you know, I mentioned that I never cry, except for in these particular movies. For some, I can like conjure some water in my eye, and even one time like one dropped out. Like it dropped.
It's a big monumental moment.
It's like squeezing it. Oh yeah, here it is. And you kind of like, Sarah, look. Emotion.
That's pretty much how it happened too.
The movies that pretty much make me tear up every single time, and these are like underrated indie movies. You didn't really
so underrated
like hear anything about them necessarily, but I don't know, they're so good. They hit a heartstring for me.
Yeah.
And the first one is called The Way Back, and it's about this kid named Duncan who. His parents are divorced. He goes to his mom's new boyfriend's summer house, and it's like just a coming of age. He's having a hard time with the adjustment, and the new boyfriend's kind of a jerk.
Duncan, on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think you are?
A 6.
I think you're a 3.
But he gets a summer job at a water park, and it's so cute, and I cry in like the exact same spots in the movie every single time, especially the end whenever he runs back in. If you watch it, I'm not giving anything away.
Okay.
I'm just he runs back into a place and something happens, and I always get some tears.
It's a fantastic movie.
The second movie that always gets to me, I mean I want to watch this today, is Captain Fantastic.
Which I'd like to point out that I found. I feel like that's important.
This is your credit. You may have it.
Thank you.
And this movie is a coming-of-age type tale as well. But
it's a story about a family who they raise their kids in the wilderness, basically, in the forest outside in the Pacific Northwest somewhere. and the mom passes away. And so the story is of the family driving to their mom's funeral, basically seeing civilization for the first time.
Like his dad raises them in the woods like almost their entire life.
It's all local and organic.
How did you kill those chickens? With an axe or a knife?
There's a rotisserie chicken, so you buy it it's already dead.
It's so great. It's like heartwarming because there's like the family dynamic, but then also just like the kids learning, you know, how adults or how like Americans live.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So those two movies would be my like underrated, kind of deep cut recommendations that they make me tear up.
Yeah.
I've shown these movies to other people who it didn't connect with them emotionally, but I guess if you want to know something about the inner workings of me, you can watch those movies. And my third recommendation is the strawberry gelato at L'Arte del Gelato at Great Jones and Bowery. So we're gonna finish up our gelato, but we've talked a lot in this video already, so I'm gonna end it here. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe. If you're not, we make videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on this channel. We just launched some new merch, which you can buy right now by clicking this link right here, or the link is also in the description. We'd love for you guys to check that out. Also check out our podcast called Deeply Curious. Search Deeply Curious in whatever podcasting app you want. You can also check out the links in the description as well. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.